Louis L'Amour put it best when he said a writer's brain is like a magician's hat. If you're ever going to get anything out of it, you have to put something into it. Well, this pretty much sums up my entire life. Throughout my youth, I was a child that went into reading and writing quite a bit. And I would take pieces of other authors' styles and works even, and then arrogantly rewrite them into my own style. With reflection, though, I realized just how much these stories made me who I am. Not only did it make me, again, me, but also it helped me realize that I needed to be the hero of my own story. And how was I going to tell it? Following such ideas, I eventually came to see my own story as unfinished. So I always have a future, and as long as I think that, then the future will always be good, because I was quite a pessimist when I was a kid. So today I want to show you how writing both shapes and reflects my personality and has done so in the past. I will explain the various steps I have taken in writing and how these have changed me over time. So to begin with, what is my story? Well, basically my brother introduced me into reading at a really early age, like before I could fully talk really. And so I then started copying other authors' styles, and really arrogantly throughout first and second grade when I was writing, I would copy people like Gary Paulson, Stephen King in some situations. My teachers hated that. But when I felt I had gained my own style, I wrote my own first story in third grade. It didn't go very far, only about 50 pages or so handwriting, but it did help me figure out that writing was something I wanted to do. So 3 years later in 6th grade, my teacher decided that she wanted to help me learn to revise and edit. And that helped me quite a bit, but I still have never finished that story. And I think I actually lost it at one point too. But in early 7th grade, I rebelled against all of this. I decided that my talent was uncool, and it was too much of a nerd kind of thing, because I was always with books, or I was always with paper or pencils and things like that. And so instead I got into theatrics, started getting more out there on the stage, even though I was always in the background of it. And then I also ended up finding myself as the hero part most of the time. Like I always imagined myself as that lead role and things like that, even though I never quite wanted it. And so I went back to writing to express this. And I ended up using the styles of Avi from his book, The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, which is kind of like a pirate tale, really. And I wrote the second piece that I've ever done, and that ended up about 60 pages or so. And the only thing that was good about was complexity. Nothing else was any good about that one. But it did bring philosophy into my style. It not only became a situation where I was questioning the worlds and things like that, but I was also questioning the norms. So again, this piece was also never finished. After that, I found a new sudden energy for writing and moved to script writing because I wanted to get things down on paper and fast. So in these, I found myself and a battle for inner truth. In this kind of situation, I would always find myself in some kind of actual battle between the fallacies of life and things like that. And again, it was very questioning. So then I wrote tons, almost endlessly writing, and all of which led to the creation of a heroic alter ego that I could give myself to when it came down to being in front of people or going to class for an essay or something like that I did not prepare for at all. And this led me to writing a full movie script using in that alter ego as the main character. And it became very personal for me because that character technically was me. But this piece got to the very ending scene, and when I decided to kill off that character, it kind of fell through. So after writing several other pieces, I finally decided to take a 4A course here at the JC, which is creative writing. And that taught me to do short stories, where I learned how to end things well without destroying the character's life, like I was going to do that movie script. So how did this change me, though, as a person? Well, to start, heroism became my truth. I decided that if I saw life as a story, and if I were reading my life, how would I want the hero to act? And this basically meant don't be a douche. So writing also made me a hopeless romantic. I always imagined myself saying things like, the hero always gets the girl, the good guys always know how to cook, and the heroes are always fit, never obese, like much of my family happens to be. But then this also brought me into sailing and things like that because I loved pirate tales. So I learned how to sail, and I went into Sea Scouts for 2 years. I learned survivalism and things like that, and common ship terms. So finally, through all of my writing, I found that, like most of my tales, the story of my life remains unfinished. And interestingly, it's a very philosophical idea too. So in conclusion, I began copying other authors' styles to make my own. And then that led to me realizing how much of these stories made me who I am. And so now you know how writing both shapes and reflects who I am. And though I'm done speaking now, this doesn't necessarily mean that my life is ended, like I thought this speech was going to do. Thank you.
Stay up there, Mary. Yep. Stay up there. Matthew.
Yeah, so that was really, really good. You had great presence. The tempo was there. The timeline, how you it was like a story, kind of like at first I was like, where's it going? But then you brought it all around to who you are and don't be a douche thing. Really set the point home. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Colin?
I thought you had a really good structure with your speech. Good movement, good gesture, and good eye contact. And it was a little long, but there's nothing wrong with that. You had a good subject, which made me even though it was long, I was still very interested in what you were saying. So yeah, thank you.
Marcos.
Yeah, kind of like what he was saying. Even though it was I liked your topic, even though it was kind of long, I wanted to hear more about it because it was straight and simple. Right? And then I like how you shaped it, from your childhood to elementary and where you are now, and how reading taught you new things, besides vocabulary, how it got you interested in singing. I just like it really good. So, congrats.
All right. Thank you, Marcos. Really, really interesting speech. I found myself to be very engaged in kind of the narrative. And I got a little lost structurally in main point 1 because I thought I had missed a transition into main point 2. And so that was, if you designed it out, the clarity of the structure was very good, but the balance was a little bit off. So main point 1 looked like this, and main point 2 looked like this. So just be mindful of that as you practice and rehearse, of keeping a sense of symmetry to the main point setup. I did like the use of questions as main points. I thought that was a nice little tool to use in there that was a little bit different and also engaging. I think you had good humor, especially in your second main point and in your closing. Your delivery in terms of how articulate you were and how well spoken you were, the language use was kind of a level up from everyday conversation. And you just had a nice tempo and good vocal emphasis, so that really established a strong sense of ethos when you spoke, I thought. So that was great. I would say the one thing that just was a little discordant was the fact that your hands were so locked down and you didn't use them at all. So you moved around, but it was like, you were just like, so really keep those in a neutral position. And as you practice your speech, work on purposely using, and you can even try the little readiness, execution, return that Osborne and Osborne talked about, but just something to get those hands so they emphasize your message, because you seem so natural and so confident, but the hands are like the giveaway. So that's an easy fix, right? But, oh, really interesting stuff. Well done.
Thank you.